Hello, and welcome to the sixth weekly build. Today, the topic is using rapidfire, if that is new to you, or if it's new, using it with Phoenix. And the build will be mass Phoenix. So as usual, getting ahead of myself, as usual, the gate expand can go to scout with this cybernetics core at 20. But none of these details are super important for this build specifically. Now you have two options. You can make a second adept instead of the stalker, and then go for Phoenix first to kill the overlord, and that's when the Zerg is blind. And that's the first stage that we abuse the blindness of the Zerg. Or we can go stalker and oracle first, and we can also kill this overlord then, because if it's sitting here on the high ground, if you choose to, by getting vision here with the oracle. And as soon as the Zerg has no idea what you're up to, you can go for the stargates, which perhaps you want 2, perhaps you want 3. It's not a big deal. And the third base, of course. And these phoenixes stay hidden. What I did this game is I figured that if he's got an overlord coming from this side, sometimes they keep the second overlord at home, and sometimes they scout with it. And because the vision of the overlord is longer than everything else, what the Zerg can do is that maybe they can go in, see the stargates, and then go out again, and you don't even know that they have the information. So I figured I will put the Phoenix at the edge, so that if that happens, at least I will know that they have vision. I guess that's not necessarily true if it comes at such a late time. So for example, if it comes in now, maybe it will scout the Phoenix and it can retreat if you patrol like this, but yeah, that's the thought process. It's fine to get 2 oracles instead of 1, to protect against the link flood if you're afraid of that. But as soon as you're happy with the Phoenix count, which should be somewhere maybe 4 to 7, it's a good time to move out. Now the later they see the phoenixes, the better. So if you can avoid running into links like this, perhaps the oracle can scout around and see where the links are located. If you can find a way to sneak them around, that's helpful. But in terms of the build, it's pretty straightforward. You're just spending all of your gas on phoenixes, making probes non-stop. +1 does help. Now, +1 is I'm a bit torn on this, because if you reveal +1, they might think that you're massing carriers afterwards, and then maybe they go into mass corruptor, for example. And we want to avoid that, because the second stage of this build is to hide the phoenixes and make much more than the opponent will suspect. So what you could do is you can build a cyber core in the main and upgrade from there instead. Let's see. It's always a little bit tricky to knowing when does the phoenixes have to defend, when can they attack. But it's nice to know that you can recall them. So here, for example, I see the roaches move out, But I don't want to waste time flying here. So deal damage, and then when I'm ready, recall them. I think I messed it up here. But they're pretty quick, so on a small map it's not a big deal. On a big map, I think this is probably an even better strategy. I'm just gonna play this game out, kind of show the strategy, and then I can show some micro afterwards in unit tester, for example. Right, so this is probably more phoenixes than you want to reveal. At this point you probably want to start hiding phoenixes already. Yeah, definitely. I think now is when I start hiding them. So this is already showing way too many. Upgrades are very good against corruptors, so we're getting the fleet beacon. The shield battery looks a lot like a fleet beacon. I just realized. I was sure that this was the fleet beacon in the production tab. But yeah, Phoenix range, why not? +2, great against corruptors. And then I'm just gonna play out how you want things to look. So he made enough corruptors that he can defend against the phoenixes that he saw. And this is what you expect. There's no reason to make much more corruptors than that, unless you're suspecting carriers behind. So I try to delay this fight because I haven't been hiding for a very long time, and I do want a +2. So just trying to be kind of aggressive with this. I guess that did not go very well. I think this should have been on the other side of the map, and maybe I should have pretended to have to recall or something after being cornered. Let him kill like 3 phoenixes maybe. Wouldn't hurt. Because all you really want is for the corruptors to go in a position where they're not protected by spores, and they cannot retreat anymore. So this is the same as when you play against Hydralisk, for example. So looking at this the second time, this is a bit like Phoenix against Phoenix. What you can do is you can stack up. What this achieves is that all of your phoenixes are gonna have the same target, which is the closest one. So they're gonna automatically attack the closest target. Whereas the opponent's corruptors, because these are stacked up, it's kind of random which one is closest. So they're gonna be attacking different ones. Now, if I had this many phoenixes and I was up against Mutalisks, then I would not want to stack, because I would just overkill them. So I wouldn't want to attack the same Mutalisk with all of them. But in this situation it's fine. What I could have done as well is I could have went, because I'm winning this fight by far, I could have went out and then stacked up and went in again. And then it would randomize which targets the corruptors would shoot at. So these phoenixes would have been saved. But that's a very, very specific situation, but it's pretty good to be aware of how that works in Phoenix against Phoenix. And just like before, we have this control group for this counterattack group. Like usually you put adepts or zealots here, or maybe a prism or dark templar, but of course you can use anything here, or a mix of units. So I don't want to let the Zerglings decide where my phoenixes go. So all of this can go and pick up units here. This of course only works when you have a lot of phoenixes. And then here, lifting these zerglings would have been very difficult without rapid fire. It's pretty hard to show from the replay, but APM speaks for itself, perhaps, when using rapid fire. And then I also wrote about all of these micro techniques in the guide, in the written guide, as usual. I will show this lift as well, because we want the phoenixes to attack different target to avoid overkilling. We don't want to stack the phoenixes here, so we want them to be spread out, and we want to lift on both sides. This is quite easy with rapid fire as well, because if you look at this, it's a mess. Like, not even if even if the Zerg did not have these skins on the drones, it would be very hard to see what the Zerg is up to. So just like holding down the rapid fire lifting key and just moving the cursor like this is gonna ensure that any drones that are mining from these 3 patches are gonna get lifted. Because even if there's something that's blocking, whenever you use this this spell, the units that it can actually target are gonna have priority. So, for example, if there is a phoenix blocking, it's gonna go through the phoenix. So you just need to move the mouse like so. avoid lifting things that you don't want to lift, such as eggs. But otherwise should be fine. And then of course keep in mind that if you press escape or the cancel key, you drop the units that you lifted. Don't think Tempest is a great transition, but usually the game, if the Zerg does move out like this into way too many phoenixes, then they're gonna take a horrible fight and you can do pretty much whatever you want. But these bases are meant to make the Zerg attack into you. So that's not just a because I can afford it, these have a good intention. Yeah. Because I did this a couple of times, I can show a different game as well. So this game did not go like I wanted it to. So just kind of to recap what's written in the guide as well, the main purpose of this build is to surprise with phoenixes twice. First you have the initial 4 to 7 that you surprise with, and then you keep making so that you make it look like the usual to Stargate Phoenix build. And then you rally at home and then surprise a second time whenever they move out. That is the idea. Managed to prevent the Overseer from seeing anything. And surprises the Roach attack, so I'm in a very, very good position here. This was basically an all-in. Such a low drone count before attacking, and then not killing anything. Alright, I think I wrote about this in the guide as well. It's such a common mistake to, in this position, take everything you have and attack. But you want these units to hide, because they're gonna be much better when the roach count has decreased a little bit. So we run them away, pick up these roaches. Now what can these roaches really achieve? They can poke away at the pylon, they can poke away at the nexus, but they're never gonna get the nexus. If the probes are exposed, then that might be a problem. But I can stack this up and run them here, and then maybe put my army so that they're at the same location at the probes. So while the probes run here at my cursor, then maybe the units run up and try to take fire to protect the probes, and then as soon as the probes are safe, they can run away again. And then at this point, these units are gonna win the fight. You can take the fight. With the help of the phoenixes, of course. Once again, start to hide phoenixes. Now, what you would expect is for someone to, when I stop making phoenixes, they should think that, oh, this is a charge transition, or this is a carrier transition. So they should prepare for one of those. Perhaps he expected the carriers and went for Infestor Hydralisk. But usually you would expect something like Lurker or Roach. But this was the worst case scenario. So I kind of wanted to show how that can look. Now, of course, I was ahead in this game because of the roach attack and the phoenixes lifting the roaches. At that point, the game was pretty much over. But here I got a bit unlucky, so he's back in this game. Taking these fungals was not a problem because he doesn't know about these phoenixes, and now these infestors are out of energy. So going to the opponent's vision, these units have no way of retreating anymore, and against infestors you can spread out the phoenixes, and this is once again when rapid fire is necessary. You cannot lift this quickly enough if you have to click every single time. And once again, I want the phoenixes to be spread out. So accidentally stacked out a bit too much. So I'm trying to spread them out. And also lift. And because you're using rapid fire, you can afford to make these movements and also lift at the same time. If you're lifting, then you have to only do that without rapid fire. Yeah, so I will jump into unit tester to kind of show how this micro is done. Not super complicated. I will probably begin with the rapid fire stuff. So if you haven't heard of rapid fire before, again, there is a link to the text notes in the description. But to describe it briefly, what happens is, instead of clicking the spell every time, you just hold down the key and it will lift everything that the cursor sees. So building a bunch of phoenixes, building a bunch of lings. So all I will do, I will hold down the lift key and then just cursor over the Zerg units, and you can see them getting lifted. More quickly than they can be picked off. So for example, against drones you would actually, let's make a spore crawler as well. So if we have a situation like this, we want to utilize two techniques. We want to spread out, or one thing that we can do, I will show first. We can stack the phoenixes and we can lift so that we're out of range of the spore crawler. That's one thing. If we do want to get to the heart and kill more workers more quickly, what we can do is we can spread out a little bit, fly in, start lifting. I'm using rapid fire here, and then this guy is getting weak, so we send it away. And now this guy's getting weak, so we send it away. And I can't press F2 in this map, but I would press F2, control click the phoenixes, remake the group, and everything's back to normal. And these phoenixes are staying alive, so I'm not losing anything here. So just to show what I did in slow motion with the stealing, when you take a phoenix to send it away, put it in the trash group while you send it away. So take this, and this one, and this one, like so. Let's see, what else do we have? Is there anything else to show? Probably not. Just a final note. The Phoenix damage against non-light units is very, very low. And the Corruptor armor is very, very high. It's one of the highest natural armors in the game. So the Phoenix will only deal 3 times 2 damage against the Corruptor. However, if the Zerg has, let's say, 2 armor and you don't have any upgrades, well then the Phoenix is gonna deal 1 damage times 2. So not very much damage. We can look at this. It looks yeah, this is not something special about this arcade game. This is how it actually looks. However, if we are the ones getting upgrades, it looks very, very different. Just something to keep in mind. And that is all for today, as usual. Much more notes once again in the written guide, and I will see you next week.